realign it. There we go. Okay, so here's the roadmap. This roadmap is it's pretty good. The old roadmap had some things on it that are missing from here, but this is their March 2025. Let me pull it up bigger here on my end so I can read this with you guys, and we're gonna break down what is located inside of this. Let's go here, and we're gonna open up the roadmap. All right, so first things first, verse 1 was fall 2024, and they touch on all of the things that we've already gotten. New biome, corrupted plains. That is true. They added a new biome. Permissions for clan ranks and loot. We did get some very rudimentary permission systems for loot, meaning if you're in a party and you do more damage, you get to loot whatever it was. We don't yet have raid loot. We don't yet have leader loot or like raid leader loot or anything like that, or party leader loot where it's locked to a person for easy distribution. We don't have shared gold pickup or any options like that for loot. The loot leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. And the permission systems for the clan ranks and stuff are very, very minimal right now. I think we need a lot more permission for deposit, withdraw only permissions. I think we need permissions for individuals and not just clan ranks. I think we need to be able to make our own clan ranks like you can in a lot of other MMOs. So that way you can define what these ranks are and what their permissions should be. Do they have deposit permissions? Do they have withdraw permissions? Do they have X, Y, and Z on a lot of these things need to come into the game in order for the permission system to really shine through. Basic gear and spells, they did add in 3 new pieces of gear and magic spells that are geared towards entry level, revamped high tier items. What high tier items did they revamp actually? Do you know, Ange, what high end items they revamped? Trying to think.
Maybe they're talking about revamping the look. I know they revamped one of the outfits.
The aesthetics. Yeah, they changed how some of the items looked. Maybe that's what they mean there, because I think the spells are mostly the same, right?
Right. Spells haven't changed.
Very interesting. Blimpy says, oh yeah, forgot to hit like. Yeah, make sure you hit that like button, Blimpy. Really appreciate you. Let's catch up on a little more chat here before we keep going. Fajol says, I would like expanded permissions going as far as naming actual player characters. Yes, that'd be like the personal system that you could give like your best friend of yours access to something. Bean says sigils did. Oh, so yeah, some of the sigils did get moved around. You're absolutely right on who they dropped from and stuff. Maybe that's what they mean by high-end tier stuff. Maybe that's what they mean. Good call there. EOTB says they took away items, not sure on revamp. So yeah, they did revamp some of the stuff, who they dropped from, what sigils craft what things, the crafting requirements for certain stuff. I don't think they really changed the difficulty of crafting on a lot of that, but they did revamp some of that. We got the visual wear and tear system, which is a nice little visual touch. Not super essential to gameplay, but it is cool to have. Enemy camps, they did add those, again, those small entry-level enemy camps to allow smaller groups and solo players to be able to kill some Inquisition and get some gold there. Building sets, grapevines, wall props, and new beams. That is true. We did get a couple new build things, not really too many to be honest. Upgrades and additions to the building has been few and far between. We did get grapevines though, and we got some beams. They did update to Unreal Engine 5.3. The latest update to Unreal Engine actually really hurt my performance. I'm getting like 15 to 20 FPS in cities now. Cities that are ghost towns, mind you, and they should be performing much better than that. So they still need to work on the performance there a little bit. Improved combat moves. They did improve the fluidity of the combat, making it feel a lot better when you actually go to attack and do your left clicks, because that's mostly what we have is left click. They did make it a lot more fluid in that regard. Enemies revamped Inquisition and Lost Souls. This was a controversial one for me because while they did move around some sigils and items and stuff and bosses, I don't think they really changed much in terms of the difficulty or the combat with any of them. I think they did add maybe a couple Lost Souls. They did change how they looked and stuff like that, and they changed the overall aesthetic of the factions. They made the camps a little more lively and stuff like that. So they did do that, but in terms of the actual combat and fighting those enemies, they are mostly the same. Recipe tracker, they did give us the journal, and they did do Discord integration. Now, Discord integration is an interesting one because the Discord integration for me was never really something that was needed in game. I think it's an interesting thing, but I don't think it's something that's like groundbreaking. It is new. They are one of the only games that I've ever really seen that has that, but I'm not really sure what it adds to the game. Sure, I can see my friends list on there now, but for roleplay, sometimes that can even be a bad thing. It can give away alt characters who you're trying to do a deep immersive roleplay on. I don't know. It's just not everyone even uses Discord too, so it kind of can become clunky for some people. It needs some refinement, and I think hopefully it does not take away from the ability for us to get proximity chat in the future, because I think proximity chat is really going to be what will be the voice chat that people actually wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Let's catch up on some more chat here. EOTB says, "Oh my god, I need a goat farm." Yeah, so guys, we will talk about that. They're gonna be adding in goats. I know a lot of people have already read over these patch notes and stuff of this update of what's going to be coming, but that's why we're here to be able to have this. We're able to have this open dialogue and talk about the things. But I want to make sure we touch on all the stuff that we've already gotten and what the updates have looked like to this point. Saw says, yes, proximity, please. And then she smacked us with an ooh-woo. EOTB says, means less coding, snap-on interface, supports VoIP and a service. Yeah, it could mean that just from putting in the Discord integration. Yeah, that could do all the heavy lifting. Kind of like WoW, letting players and add-ons do their user interface. Could definitely be that. Jack says, if they don't scream, I riot. If who does? Oh, the goats. If the goats don't scream, you riot. Oh my gosh, they might scream. Who knows? So that was verse 1, which we got in fall of 2024. What are your overall thoughts about what we got in fall of 24, Ange? To me, honestly, it was things that we needed in the game, and it was some stuff that that no one really asked for in the game. But ultimately, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that it wasn't a good update. They did give us some things that I was happy about. What are your thoughts in terms of the performance of verse 1 in terms of an update to a video game?
I feel like that was the first time that we actually saw that they can provide change. But it was just so scattered in with the lack of change that it was just kind of dull. Like the grapevines, loved them. They were fantastic, but they came with their downfalls. We had more glitches because of it. We had more lag because of it. It's like they give you something and then there are repercussions to you loving it. And that's where it kind of sucks. And the Discord integration, I'm not for it. I mean, I know there are some people who are like, yeah, it's great. Not me. Give me proximity chat in game. Don't make me download another app or link another app just because you like it. No, I don't want to be forced to use something.
And to be honest, people are already using Discord anyways. So people are already on Discord chatting with each other and having that communication. Having it linked in game, I don't know. I mean, for the parties, I guess if you have an off-the-cuff party that you just form, but proximity chat would work just the same, really. I mean, you could just proximatively talk to your party members and stuff. I think for a lot of people, verse 1 was a little bit on the underwhelming side. And I think that showed through our previous PaxCasts and chatting with people and stuff. It was a little bit on the light side, but it did bring us content nevertheless. And then verse 2, which is winter of 2024, this was more of a substantial update, in my opinion, because we got the market stalls, we got the gold economy, we got grace and miracles, even though they're underdeveloped and they have their problems and stuff. We did get those. We got the compass, which honestly should have been there from the beginning. I mean, most games enter alpha with a compass. There was actually some developers that I've seen, they made a compass in a game in Unreal Engine 5 in 10 minutes. They just popped it in off the asset shop and it was there's your compass. So compass is great to have. It's a nice quality of life feature, but in my opinion, it should have already been there. Friends list, again, that's through Discord integration and stuff, which is a little bit wonky. The voice chat, again, through that Discord integration, still a little bit wonky. We did get GeForce Now. Now, I've spoken with several people who they normally were not able to play the game because it was just too laggy for them, or their ping was too bad because they're in Australia or something. So GeForce Now actually did. I'm not a big proponent for GeForce Now. I think that certain renting of hardware over the internet and stuff like that can end up being a ripoff for some people. But for some people, it really can pay off. And a lot of people were helped, that I talked to at least, by GeForce Now integration. And I hear it works pretty well, to be honest. Blimpy says, did Void just invent the word proximatively? I want to say maybe I did make that word up, but you know what it means, don't you? You know exactly what that means, I think. UTB says vines in the real world has no clipping. Should be able to walk through them. I think that'd be pretty cool, actually. You could make hidden little rooms and stuff like that. I'm all for secrets. I love secrets in building and things like that. I think that it adds a lot to the world when you can have that creative freedom to make little secret entrances. Hopefully in the future we get the ability to be able to make secret entrances more easily. Like maybe you can actually put little hidden switches, or, you pull a book off a shelf or something and it slides open a hidden door. That stuff would really take it to the next level for me. But we did get GeForce Now and all those things. We got the languages of German and French were added in. We got the building set of wooden floors, rough beams, and foundations. They did add a slight build pieces to that. Nothing really too crazy has been added to build pieces. And they updated to Unreal Engine 5.4. So they have been consistent with keeping Unreal Engine up to date. I'm not sure if that's aiding in performance or hindering it because of weird carryovers from the previous version. Because again, it's been hit or miss. It's literally been hit or miss. Sometimes the patches will be great. My performance is through the roof. I'll have 144 FPS locked in at my refresh rate. And other times I'll have 15. It's such a stark difference. It's insane. But verse 2 did bring us a little more substantial content into the game. The market stalls were the first way that we were actually able to properly trade with each other, although again, it's severely underdeveloped in my opinion. The gold is mostly useless, only being really used to purchase grace, which is then used for miracles, which is also an underdeveloped system that to me just really isn't that useful. And maybe it's because of the time when it was implemented that we're already maxed out on everything. Maybe after the wipe, maybe the gold and the grace and the economy will surprise us going forward. Right now, everything's just so inflated because everyone has everything they could pretty much ever want in the game. And we have such an abundance of stuff that was carried over through the redeeming queue. I think the development process could really, truly benefit from a full wipe. And I think that's what we're going to be getting. If I had to put my money on a guess, I think we're going to be getting a full wipe. And we'll talk about that as we get further into the article. So that was verse 2. In your opinion, Ange, I mean, obviously, you know how I feel about this. I think this one was more of a substantial content addition to the game. What are your thoughts on how verse 2 was for the game?
It was good. I mean, I say it was good, but it was decent. They added new stuff. They didn't fix what we already had problems with, but they gave us more, which, I mean, okay, I guess. Miracles and grace, you're right, didn't see the point. I mean, I know some people have benefited from it, collecting resources and whatnot, but we're so far along that, we don't get to feel the full impact of it. Maybe new players are, and I love that for them. If they are, great. Just like the market stalls and, the gold. I'm happy for them, but we're not seeing the benefits of it because we've been here for so long. The compass, like you said, should have already been there. Sorry, no offense. But yeah, again.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay to have offense. It's okay to have offense
anybody
sometimes.
new. I'm really happy for them. But us, not really. I feel like we're kind of like in stale water right now, like just trudging along.
Yeah, and I think some people feel like that too, because I think it ultimately comes down to the totality of the circumstances of which we find ourselves. At the end game, they're introducing features that we don't really get the option to test out unless you make a whole new character. And not a lot of people really want to do that because of the grind that goes into. You get invested in your main character. No one really wants to go and grind through all that stuff. I think ultimately, though, from verse 1 and verse 2, there was a bunch of good stuff that needed to be in the game that I'm happy now is in the game. I think the grace and miracles will be more profound once we get a wipe and we're actually able to use them, because leveling up your skills by using the grace and being able to harvest more materials with the grace is going to be more profound, I think, when starting over from scratch. So I'm looking forward to trying it all from the ground up. And I think a lot of people are in that same boat with me. I mean, there's not that many people really still currently playing the game. The numbers are really, really low. And I hope that with a wipe and being able to test out all of these new systems from the ground up, including what's going to be coming in verse 3, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment, hopefully it'll allow us to really see the full picture and test from the ground up how all of these systems will interact with each other with a fresh market that's not inflated by Mez Fireball items that got carried over through the redeeming queue and through all the exploits that people found, such as camping the loot piles inside the dungeons. There's a lot of things that took longer than they should have to get fixed. A lot of really big exploits that were causing big, profound effects on the world around us And I'm hoping that with a wipe, with a full wipe and a full reset, it will give us all the opportunity to test the market stalls, the gold economy, the grace, and all these things that we've gotten in one big, nice, neat package from the ground up. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Fadril says, still need to tweak my grace idea. Oh yeah, so Fadril actually has a unique idea on grace, and we haven't had a chance to do it yet, but we need to sit down and refine that and talk about that, and then bring it to the community and see what they think in terms of how the grace could work. Blimpy says, personally, I'm fine with being patient, but I fear that the audience could slip away if content doesn't come faster. And I think that's a big sentiment right there, Blimpy. I think a lot of people resonate with that. Or they will run out of funding. So that I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. So they secured over $30 million from different investors like Riot Games and Adrasine, or however you pronounce them. What's the name of that one investing firm? Andersine or something like that. Horowitz, which is an investing firm. They raised over $30 million. And then from their Steam sales alone, according to Steam Spy and some other Steam revenue analytic websites, they raised almost $4.5 million from Steam sales alone, not including the sales they got from their direct launcher. So I think they have very deep pockets. There's like 80 on their team now, if not more. As of 2023, there was like almost 80 people on their team. So they have the manpower, they have the money, and I think that's where a lot of. So I thought Microsoft had invested in them. I couldn't find anything to validate that though. So that's why I left them out. Microsoft, I think, may have invested in them. I'm not honestly positive. I couldn't find anything about Microsoft having invested in them after I dug more into it. But they did secure a lot of money from Andreessen Horowitz and from Riot Games. Riot Games is owned 100% by Tencent. And Tencent is known for their microtransactions and stuff, which was a big fear and a big worry for a lot of people early on. Because a lot of the stuff that they touch is not good in the long run. But that brings us to verse 3 then, which is scheduled for spring of 2025. Revamped cloth, leather, and metal gear. Now, they did talk about how they want to make it to where each. I'll send you the Microsoft post. Need to find it. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see that. If I can confirm that and how much money they actually put in, we'll get a bigger running total of how much funding they actually have. This revamped cloth, leather, and metal gear, we talked about this a little bit before. Each of these should feel unique. Each of them should have their own implications on your play style. Metal gear, I think, should slow you down or have some other level of hindrance on your attack speed or something like that. Leather gear should be that middle ground where you have enough mobility to be able to sneak around and not be heard. This is going to, again, come down to other mechanics such as stealth and things like that, which I don't know if they even have planned at this point, but could be really cool. We do a lot of theorycraft here on the channel, guys. We do a lot of theorycraft here on the channel. If you guys have any interesting ideas as to how they could do things, make sure you let me know in chat as well. And then cloth, obviously, traditionally kept for more healing roles. So it's good to see that they're going to be revamping that. We don't really know fully what that means yet, but I think you can agree, Ange, that having differences between these different sets of armor, these different types and classes of armor, is really going to bring much needed flair to hopefully the combat and other systems in the game.
100%. 100%.
I know you're looking forward to leather, right?
I am. How did you know?
The Gore Force, welcome into the stream, buddy. Gore Force says they need to add buy orders, not just selling items at the kiosks. I absolutely agree. On our Discord, the Cheeky Buggers United Community Discord server, we have a board called the Bounty Board. The Bounty Board is a place where players can come and put work orders, contracts, quests, items for sale, offering, seeking orders, and everything in between on our Discord. I like to give people the infrastructure to enjoy the environments around them and the games that we're playing as much as possible. And the Bounty Board is my way of giving the community a place to be able to put up quests and things like that. It could be anything from, hey, I want to go kill some bears and I'm looking for a knight to come along with me and I'll pay you X, Y, and Z, or a portion of the proceeds will go to you. It could be an offer bounty board entry where it's like, I am a leather worker and I have all of these high-end leather things that I can produce. If you need my services, this is an ongoing offer. I offer this, and this. Here's my prices and all that stuff. Or it could be I'm seeking, and it could be even be an ongoing seeking bounty board entry as well. Like you are constantly seeking steel to be able to make weapons for the army or something like that, and that's a nice place. So we've kind of, let's put it this way, where the developers in the game fall short, community normally picks up the slack and comes up with a unique way in order to alleviate a lot of the issues. But I agree with you 100%, Goreforce. I think that having a bounty board in town where you could put up a quest and someone could come and like take the chit or the piece of paper off of it, and then they could complete that order and things like that. I think that'd be really, really great, to be honest. And we need player-to-player trading. The trading right now is falling short of what it should be because we can't like walk up to someone and just trade or barter with them in a secure way. I'm an advocate for people being able to freely trade with one another. Right now, you have to pay a 10% tax on everything you sell inside of a market stall. I've talked about this extensively. I think that it's silly. I can understand why it's needed as a game mechanic for a gold sink, but why am I paying a 10% tax on, and I feel like I've just beaten a dead horse with a stick here because I've said this so much, but why am I paying a 10% tax on something that I built, I put on my property that eventually I'll have to pay a subscription fee, real life money, in order to upkeep my property with my stall that I put together and set up on my land, and I'm selling things that I acquired with my own two hands. Why am I paying a 10% fee to some ethereal king? I'll never understand it from a roleplay standpoint. You have to keep in mind, I always come from a roleplay point of view. From a gameplay mechanic, it makes sense. You need gold sinks, but I feel like there's more unique ways that they could go about doing that than taxing me on my own property. I just don't like the idea of it. I think that it's shallow, and I think that they can come up with something better than that. But being able to trade directly with players, I think, is super important, because right now you can do it and you can avoid the 10% fee by just putting something in a chest, and then they put the thing that they're paying you for it in there, and then you guys just take it out. But that requires trust. That requires you to actually trust the other person and hope that they're not just going to rip you off. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, that's not a very good system. We need permissions, we need loot, we need trade, we need all these things in order to really flesh out the fundamental core values of what makes a good MMO a good MMO. Blimpy says, Seeking Steel sounds like a band name. It could. It absolutely could be. Blimpy says it's spring 2025 right now. Well, again, when does spring go till, Ange? When's the end of spring, technically?
June 20th.
So June 20th is like typically around the end of spring. So that's when they have some time to deliver on this. I don't think it's like on the, I don't think we're on the heels of it. I think it's going to be a couple months still, probably, honestly, even if not longer, if it gets delayed for some of these features. But there's some pretty cool stuff in it, honestly. Virgil says, Void, I sent the Reddit link via PM that has several articles that links Microsoft with PAX. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look those over, but assuming that all of those links and everything that they're talking about are pan out, then I guess Microsoft has invested. Do you know how much Microsoft has invested on top of, because they have like about, 35 million, if not more, in funding. So what did Microsoft actually put in? The Goreforce says, I heard that dropped through for drill. That it actually didn't go through. Yeah, check the date on it and see if you can verify it and let me know. That brings us to revamped abilities for melee weapons. They talked about adding like 3 new abilities, or having 3 abilities for each type of weapon. So if you're using a two-handed axe, it won't just have the one like swing anymore. You'll actually have real buttons to click in an MMO. Holy crap, I'm so freaking excited for that. New weapons, healing staves. We had a little bit of a hint towards this because in the market stall browsing feature, you could filter by weapons, and one of the categories was staves. So now we know that the staves are going to be tied more directly to healing. Finally, we're going to be fleshing out what we should have from the beginning, which is the holy trinity of an MMO. You got your tank, healer, DPS. Hopefully we get some more tanking abilities and things to really define these roles, because people like to lean into the gameplay that they enjoy, and now players will be able to actually be healers. I don't know what this means in terms of your abilities are attached to your weapons and your gear and your magic items. Obviously, I can still wear the Cap of the Gaping Wound and cast a heal. So what makes the healing staves healing? I don't know. I guess we'll find out as we get closer to the release of verse 3. 15 new spells. Now, are these changed spells or revamped spells? Are these all 100% brand new spells? I'm not sure, but 15 new spells sounds pretty substantial. Improved crowd control. So there's There's crowd control right now, but it's only like really pre-crowd control and a little bit of in-combat crowd control, but it can be clunky at times because if they get hit, there's no damage threshold. If you hit, you interrupt the crowd control and it wakes up the enemy. If you get too close to them, if they're just pacified, it will wake them up as well. It does work for pre-crowd controlling a room, but I think that having in-combat crowd control and stuns and interrupts and things like that will do wonders to the combat in the game. And the shield bash right now doesn't really even work. It will stop them from casting any future spells, but if you shield bash in order to interrupt a heal or a spell cast or something, they still actually cast it. And that has been, again, one of the biggest issues with Mainframe's development team has been that they have long-standing bugs that you would think would not be that difficult to get fleshed out. But like something as simple as doing a shield bash should interrupt a spell. It should stop it from casting and stop it from going off, but it currently doesn't. And that has been like that from the very beginning. And it's been just one of those frustrating things that makes combat frustrating to engage with at times. We're going to catch up on some more chat here. They did initially offer a 20 million investment, I think. Oh, so Microsoft offered 20 million, but they backed out. Tim, how's it going, Tim? Welcome into the stream. Tim says, agreed. I think it'll be split into 2 parts of patches. The Gore Force says 70 at launch of early access. 70 what? The Gore Force says if they are at 80, that's pretty nice. Well, they in 2023, they had 73 active developers with like 12 support staff, from what I could find. Bean says, hopefully one of the new 15 spells has some de-aggro, so a healer can actually be a healer instead of the tank dropping it for aggro. Yeah, because right now, what is it? Like the Consecrated Ground is one of the biggest aggro things, and the Shout is the other one. They need to like lean into that more and have it a little more defined. Goreforce says that means they aren't worried about money. Well, didn't they say they had like 2 years or 3 years or something like that? They had several years of funding that they just did not need to worry about it. And that's with no other money injected into them. I think they're going to be getting, obviously more money from sales and stuff like that. So that's new money that's being influxed into the development process. Though with one of the paragraphs, I'm worried that the reveal will introduce bonus monetization before early access release. I don't know. I mean, if they go to a monetized model, such as starting to charge per plot before the game's ready, I think it's going to be detrimental to the game. And that's one of the components why I'm a super big advocate for private servers, because even if the development process stops right now, if we have private servers, the game will be able to continue into the future through mods and communities hosting their own spaces and stuff. And it'll give us the tools we need to be able to deal with bad faith actors and trolls and stuff like that. Let's see here. Goreforce also says armor weight should be just a stamina regen speed. It could be that, or it could be your movement speed. It could be your attack speed. It could be how long until your stamina starts to regen, how effective healing is on you. The heavier armor you wear, the less healing you receive. There's so many different ways that they could go about doing it that I'm really honestly looking forward to seeing what they're going to come up with to make it unique. Bean says even Dune is saying it will have private servers. Yes. In fact, the hardcore fans of Dune have said that if we don't get private servers at launch, you get no money at launch. Until we have private servers, a lot of the diehard Dune fans are not going to back the project. The Goreforce says Dune has worse combat than PAX Day. I can't speak to that because I haven't played it. I've seen a little bit on it, but I have not played it. They have a lot of stuff under NDA right now, so I haven't been able to really get my fingers into it. I'm not really big on NDAs because it doesn't let me bring information to you guys. But yeah, so I can't really speak too much on that, but so I can't confirm nor deny if Dune has worse combat than PAX Day currently, other than what we've seen put out there by the developers and through community content that has been allowed to be shown through spotlights and stuff. The Drill says, paper plot will create many problems with community joint built towns. Yes, absolutely. I 100% will. Preach that, Force, Bean says. Yeah, it's going to put big restrictions on community builds and things like that. It's going to make it a nightmare. And I think private servers could pick up that slack and make it a lot easier. Not having to pay subscription fees in order to have plots on a private server would mean much more rich and in-depth builds that people can immerse themselves in, and just a wonderful world built by the people. The Cat Died says combat is fun in Dune. And everyone's obviously going to have their own opinions on what combat's good, what makes good combat, and things like that. So it's not necessarily that someone's wrong or that someone else is right. It's that it's a preference, really. And I mean, I think there are core values that will ultimately be a deciding factor if combat or if a feature is good or bad. There are some objective things and some subjective things that are going to determine that for each individual. But there are some things that, it's just, hey, this is good combat because of this, or this is bad combat because of that. There are the staples that will be mainstays in different features. The Gore Force says they believe that it prevents inflation to have taxes. They just need to make real jewelry and statutes, thrones, etc. You should be able to use the coin just like gold. I mean, taxes, I guess, could help with inflation in the economy, but it has to be implemented correctly and in a way that makes sense, to be honest. Like, again, if it's my property that I'm paying an upkeep fee, if I'm paying real money just to be taxed in-game on my property, that feels bad in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion. Blimpy says on a private server, one could theoretically turn off the market tax, killing two birds with one stone for void. I mean, absolutely. And that's the nice thing about private servers. You can do whatever you want. You get to enjoy the video game the way that you want, because that's what playing video games is all about. It's about coming together with people who you want to play with, playing the game the way that you want to, and enjoying the experience. It's not always about being forced to engage with a system the way that maybe the developers wanted you to. And that's why I think games like Minecraft and Conan Exiles and a lot of other games, they really truly shine because they have private servers with mods that just extend into the future indefinitely the fun that can be had from an experience and from a game. Cooter, how's it going? Welcome in. Cooter Pooter says, wow, a wild goat appears. Yes, goats. Definitely going to be interesting to have goats in game. Hopefully they have some meaning and it's not just like, hey, you get wool from them or something. UTB says, DM'd the Microsoft details void, no money amounts, but clear on investing, even with mainframes back out on wanting to take part in Xbox integration. Interesting. Yeah, I'll read over that and we can talk about that more in depth. The Gore Force says, I'm Faye, by the way. Welcome into the stream. It's really great to have you here. Blimpy says, at Cooter Pooter, nice. Cooter Pooter says, better have some goat milk to make some dang good cheese. Only way I'm coming back to PAX. That's interesting, actually. That'd be really cool. I'd be all for that. All right, let's see what else we got. Another Tangia dungeon fired up, guys. Go ahead and join in on that. Yay. So we're going to be getting improved crowd control, revamped combat XP progression. What do you think this even means, Ange? I think maybe it means the amount of XP you're going to gain from killing certain things is going to change. What does that even mean? Revamped combat XP.
Revamped combat XP. I mean, that's kind of the only thing that makes sense in my head.
Right. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. It seems very vague. And that's one of the things with their communication issues that I have is like, right. You have to go dig through the Discord in order to get insight as to what that even means. Skinning tools are being added. Skinning tools, I think, could be fun. It could make it more immersive when you're actually skinning something. But what is that going to mean for the difficulty of acquiring hides? Because right now it's one of the most difficult things to do in the game is actually to acquire those and to level your leatherworking. Mm-hmm. The Gore Force says healing stabs should probably have 3 abilities or 2, which are likely health/support and 1 attack maybe. Yeah, potentially. Because they did say on the Discord that weapons are going to have like 3 main attacks now. Saw says, I want goats and cows and chickens, please. Yeah, a lot of people want animal husbandry. Saw also goes on to say, I also wanted a bear mount. That'd be super cool. That'd be awesome. I'm all for that. I think I'd settle for a donkey at this point, but give me anything to be able to ride on. And we do have some information and insight into that we're going to talk about a little bit later as well when we get down to that spot in their announcement. A lot to go over, guys. We're already almost an hour into this. There's a lot to go over, and we're still looking at the roadmap. I haven't even touched on so many other things that we need to talk about here. This is going to be a really good episode. Gore4 says trees keep on popping up. Yes, I mean, I don't know how they haven't fixed that yet. Also, trees coming up through our builds and things really hindering a lot of builds. Cooter Pooter says, in all honesty, I think I will come back when there is a full wipe, whenever that is. I think it might be with verse 3 in spring. I think maybe in a couple months we might get that, Cooter. We'll see, though, as we get closer. We're going to keep our eye on it. As always, we're going to bring you the news as fast as possible as we can here. So make sure if you're not yet subscribed that you click that subscribe button so you never miss an upload or a live stream here on the InterSleuths. EOTB says skills to weapon skill gains. My money is on stretching those combat skills, aka keep you playing longer. Mark my words about this. They might, and honestly, I wouldn't even necessarily be opposed to that. I think that when things are harder to acquire, they become more rewarding. When you have to put real effort into acquiring something within reason, obviously, and it has to be, the experience along the way has to be engaging and fun. It can't just be a pure grind for the sake of being a grind. But whenever I host a private server, I normally make things a little more difficult to maintain and to upkeep and to acquire, and the reason, and to kill. Fighting bosses and stuff like on my V-Rising server, absolutely it will be harder than the default vanilla game because I find that way too easy. And not only does it stretch out your experience and stretch out the longevity that, the time that you get to play and enjoy the game around you, it feels so much more rewarding when you accomplish something that is an actual challenge. If something's just handed to you and it's easy, it's not fun and rewarding, in my opinion. I do that with my Minecraft server. I do that with my Project Zomboid server. I make things harder to acquire, not grueling, but I make them harder to acquire because then you feel a sense of worth and a sense of gratification when you actually do acquire it. So I'm not opposed to them making things difficult or hard, as long as the journey is rewarding and fun along the way. That's one of the most important things. Fedril says lots of hides at the Zeb outpost. Winky face. Cooter Pooter says you don't need a donkey. You already have me as your community jackass. No, dude, you're a great part of the community. I love you, Cooter. I'm so glad to have you back, brother. EOTB says /agree 100% and a learning lesson for mainframe on proper balance. Also, or always two sides of a coin. That's absolutely correct, EOTB. You're spot on right there with that. So skinning tools, hopefully they can make it feel good to progress through the skinning and not just a grind, because that is a big complaint that I've heard after communicating with and hearing from a lot of people in the community. New languages to bring the game to a wider audience. We're getting Polish and Spanish. I think we already have German and French, so now we're going to be getting Polish and Spanish as well, which will bring it up to 5 languages that will be supported by PAX Day. Grab a drink of water here. Building sets, limestone, decorative beams, and log cabin. This is a big one. A lot of people are really excited for these. In fact, in the middle of this, let me pull up another image here really quick. I want to show this because I think this is important. Here is, let me center it. Hold on, let me see here, unlock this and grab that and then drag this over. Here's a limestone building pieces. This was leaked on the Discord and this is super cool. I love that long hallway, that long arched hallway I think is really great. Take note on the different foundation pieces we're getting. The stairs, I mean, I don't know why it took so long to develop these pieces because if you look at, they're like mostly all just squares and stuff, but hopefully they're nice and polished when we actually do get to use them in game. That long archway, that's one that I'm pretty excited for. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to building with these pieces, but this is just a little sneak peek of some of the build pieces that they're implementing. And I think I have another one here. Yep. Let me recenter this 1 second. Here we go. So this is going to show off the old hut set, the new hut set, and the new log set, which we haven't had yet. So you can see the roofs flow a little better together and they're more consistent. And with the log set, it's a nice little upgrade or an alternative to the like thatch, the 100% thatch that we were used to before. It's going to be a nice addition, I think. Again, I'm not sure why this could have taken this long. Why does this take 9 months to implement? I mean, they're working on other stuff also, but we're pretty far along in the development process here, and they're hoping to release this year. So I'm not too sure. Hopefully they're nice and polished when they come out. But those are some of those pieces there. Let me see what this image is. Oh, okay, we're not going to talk about that just yet. Let's bring the roadmap back up. That image was the map that we're going to talk about. We're going to break down here on the channel as well. The changes that are coming to the home valleys. So, Ange, what do you think about the limestone, the decorative beams, the log cabins, and all of the build pieces? Looking at the totality of the build pieces that we currently have, how do you feel it stacks up to some other building games? Now, I personally think that The UI is nice and polished. The way you actually place things and go about interacting with the world around you and building, I think they could use some quality of life features. Now, I know that I've advocated against certain quality of life features, such as market browsing, but I think building from a chest and being able to pull materials from chests that are within the area would greatly benefit the game. They are going to be rebalancing the requirement for the materials that are required for a lot of these build pieces as well. But looking at the totality of all the building in the game, I'm not sure if you're a big builder, but coming from your point of view, let us know how big of a builder you are and how you feel about all of these different build pieces that we have, the grapevines, the wall pieces, the ones that we got at launch, and the refinement that they're bringing with verse 3. What's your opinion on all of it, Ange?
So I'm not a big builder. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a big builder, but PAX Day thrives when it comes to building. Like, it is one of its strongest assets in this game. I mean, especially people's creativity. Now, yes, there can be more, but people will always want more. But right now, as PAX Day stands, building it's out of this world in comparison to some of the other games. So, I mean, I don't know. I love the new pieces that they are coming out with. I love the new colors, like, because even the front row, the 3 pieces on the right in the front row of that picture, they're so pretty because they just look so clear. I'm super excited about this. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I've never really been a super big builder. I mean, sometimes I get the creative bug and I want to build something, and I've done a lot of streams on my channel where I built my apothecary, and I love layers and depth and detail to things, and I love the way that we're able to achieve that with PAX Day. I think obviously having more decoration pieces is going to be a really big thing. Goreforce says there, I'm missing decorations. They're also missing some shapes still. No 90 foundations, no seaside walls and stuff like that. I have a very innovative way that I think that they could do the roofs. And I think that could be a lot like the way that The Sims does it, or like V Rising does it, where your roof toppers, you could have the option to just have it be a generic, it'll come to the proper points where they all need to be. But if you want to keep that creative bug and be able to do weird roofs however you want, I think that you should have that freedom too. But I think for people like me, the hardest part is putting a roof on a building. I find that the way the pieces interlock and come together, they really confuse me. It's really hard for me to do. And I normally need to bring in an expert in order to make it the way that I want it to look. But once I have the roof done and, I can put balconies and things, it's a lot of fun to build in PAX Day. And I'm looking forward to getting new build pieces. I think it's been a long time coming. Yeah. The pieces that we've gotten have been few and far between, but again, they have been good when we did get them. Let's catch up on some more chat here. UTB says, Kuda Pooter, do you offer mule or donkey services, haul extra inventory and rideable? JK. Blimpy says, speaking of polished marble pieces, I think marble would be really, really cool, to be honest. Cat Died says they have at least 60 people actively developing. Well, in 2023, they had 70 something active developers and 12 support staff. So I think they have well over 60 at this point. They've taken 9 months to come out with the limestone set. Shouldn't have taken that long. I 100% agree, and I feel like a lot of really big builders have expressed that as well. It's crazy to think that we are where we are after 9 months, having as limited a build pieces as we do have. I'm still super grateful for getting new build pieces and stuff like that. I'm never going to complain about getting content, because honestly, ultimately, that's what we want, is to get more content in the game. So I'm grateful for the content and for the build pieces and stuff like that. But I think a lot of people have had that same sentiment. They're like, why has it taken 9 months to get to the point where we are? And I have an opinion on this. I think that they are having some seriously big problems implementing certain things in Unreal Engine. I think that it's giving them really big hurdles, and I think that they haven't been truly transparent with the problems that they've been facing behind the scenes. Now, I don't know if it's because they have investors and they have to, save face or something like that. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. This is just my opinion, and I'm not just trying to talk shit or anything like that. I'm trying to be 100% honest here. I think they're running into big issues because it's been 9 months. I mean, that's a long time already. I mean, I know games like 7 Days to Die were in early access for like 10 years, but that's different. They're like a small team. of however many people. They have like no funding in comparison. So I don't know. I feel like it's taken a long time to get to the point where we're at. And I think Unreal Engine 5 is really giving them a lot of problems for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, the world is super janky to go across the borders, rubber banding, splits in the world. I think they're having issues implementing such a large scale open world MMO in Unreal Engine. In fact, the Kingdom Come Deliverance developers, I think it was one of them, they spoke out against using Unreal Engine 5 for open world MMOs. They said that it's just simply not the right tool for the job. And that could be why we're seeing so many issues with the implementation of some of these things, and why they've been putting a lot of their development efforts into trying to fix some of these underlying issues. And the things that we've been wanting, we haven't been able to get for quite some time because of that. That's just my opinion. That's what I think's going on behind the scenes, to be honest. And without transparency or getting an answer to that, we'll honestly never truly know. If a dev pops in chat, or if we can get an answer out of them while we're on Discord as to, if that's the case, then we could have a little more light shed on that. But I think until we know ultimately what has been the holdup, it's going to just be sitting in the shadows, in terms of not having transparency on it. We got some more chat here. The Goforce says, true, it is most realized feature, but is missing some pieces, and they've been teasing the limestone since Unreal Engine 5 Spotlight. The Goreforce goes on to say, log cabin pieces look too much like twigs. Yeah, they're not big enough. They're not big enough logs, right? Fadril says, 100% agree with the Unreal Engine code problems. So Fadril agrees with the limitations there. Actually, Fadril was the one that brought the article to my attention about the Kingdom Come Deliverance devs speaking out against Unreal Engine being used in this way. Goreforce says, I will not make my wood. It will not make my wooden place look more rustic if I switched. Yeah, they need to make it like the logs bigger. They need to make it look like an actual log cabin. Bean says, no, it won't. To be smacking us with some meat. Great, now I'm hungry. I haven't really eaten much today. Oh, now I need to get some brisket.
No, now I need a brisket.
Ange, I think I need you to finish the rest of PaxCast. I gotta go, guys. I gotta go get some brisket. Thanks to you to be smacking me with meat.
I need brisket. All right, hold on. I'm gonna have to order brisket now. Thank you.
Oh man. Bean says, still looking good behind my place. The Goreforce says, Blimpy says, need to go turn the chicken in the slow cooker. Actually, I do have a pot roast on. I have a pot roast on in the slow cooker, actually. Come to think of it. All right. I'm starving now, guys, and we have a long way to go before we're done with this episode. So let's get back to it here. So we talked about limestone storage and crafters and starting area. I'm not a big fan of this. Let me know what you guys, I honestly want to know what you guys think of this. And I was going to do a couple polls here during the stream as well, but I can't remember what they all were. I know I talked with the Cat Died about doing some poll, but I can't remember what the poll was going to be. But I want to do one on this. Storage and crafters at the starting area. Let's start a poll and let's do starting area, storage, and crafters. Yes or no? Do you like it or do you not? And start. I want to hear from you guys because this is a big change for the game. I think they're doing this maybe as a temporary measure or maybe a permanent measure in order to ease the starting off process of the game, but I think that it's going to take away and detract from. Now, honestly, you don't have to use it. And I know some people are going to say that. Well, just simply don't use that feature. If you don't like the market stall browsing, just don't use it. Yeah, but the problem is then people aren't coming to your town to browse your market stalls because they don't have to. Well, simply just, this is one that you just don't have to use. But I think the fact that it exists, if you don't use it, you're going to be at disadvantage of those around you, about your peers. They're going to be going ahead of you because they already had access to those from the start. What they mean is like the Petra Day will have some storage in it and there'll be crafting stations right around spawn that everyone will be able to use. I think that it's going to take a little bit away from the game. I think that going out into the world in nothing but your undies and doing the diaper run of shame to try and find a good starting point and having that early game progression and that grind and having to make those stations yourself and stuff is part of what makes the exploration and the early game really rewarding. I don't know how you feel about that, Ange. Well, I mean, give us your opinion on, since we're doing the poll, I want to hear from you too, Ange. How do you feel about having storage and crafters at the starting area? Now, you guys don't have to agree with me. Honestly, I could be the only one who thinks that, and that's perfectly fine. It's just my opinion. Everyone could think that that's a good way to jumpstart the early game. I don't know. But Ange, how do you feel about those two features?
Okay, so I'm adamantly no, right? But then I start thinking about what we're going to discuss later on in the stream, and I'm like, well, it gives me pause because, and I'm going to touch on it a little bit, sorry, because of the map and how they're going to be changing it and the PvP and all of that, maybe you do need it, you know. I'm going to stick with my original answer. No, because you can easily have somebody creating crafting tables near the border of the boundary. So no, I'm going to say no. Not the starting area. What about
a lot of this is think about Saw. A lot of this is subjective though, you know, because we don't know. We don't have the insight of the totality of the circumstances that are going to be taking place with the wipe. Maybe with all the other features and all the other changes and things that maybe stuff that we don't even know about, maybe it'll end up being a good feature. So I'm not just like saying that this is a bad thing. We won't know until we get our hands on it and we get to mess around with it, right? So I'm just, based on what we know now, that's the only thing that I can give you. That's the only thing that I can give you information on, is what we know now and what has been said by developers. That's all I can really truly go off of for facts. Another Tangia dungeon being fired up, guys. Go ahead and join that Tangia dungeon. Let's catch up on some chat here because I feel like some people have some stuff to say. Not about this, but Fadril says 7-layer bean dip, homemade strawberry shortcake, and BBQ mini sausages on my dinner plate tonight. Fadril, sounds great, man. I'm super, super hungry now. EOTP says the only game where the balance of making game items, walls, etc. to realness and the balance of enjoyment needs to be addressed. I love the grindy vibe, but still make more fun versus just grind. The Gore4 says, I like it because it shows a place. It also might become a premium feature in the future. What do you mean it shows a place? And what do you mean becoming a premium feature? You mean like starting off with having these access to storage and stuff like that? You think that may be a premium feature? Hopefully they don't start to microtransaction anything like, oh, buy the premium gold ultra master edition and then you get access to crafting right from the start. Like, I hope that they don't pay to progress and stuff, because that could be really detrimental to the environment of a social interactive RP experience, to say the least. Jack says, Jack says, that's like just your opinion, man. 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everything that we have is an opinion, right? And what do they say about opinions? Something like, they're like buttholes. Everyone has one and they all stink. That's what opinions are. We all have one, right? Saw's laughing at the immersion comment. Cat Died says, there might be a way for Mainframe to have a trial run for free play accounts. Yeah, they definitely could. They could test around with that for sure. The cat also said, Cat Died says, you can use anyone's crafting stations. That's true. You can just walk up to someone's crafting stations. Right. I would like to see that change, again, with a permission system. Let me lock my door. Let me have the ability to kill people on my plot. You're trespassing. It will tell you, warning, approaching a full PvP plot. Tread carefully, because it's my property. I'm literally paying you money. So I don't know. I think that could be an interesting feature, but I have a lot of theory craft on stuff like that. Saw says, I'll be okay with a wipe. Gore4 says, if we begin to lock our homes and things are going to be able to be taken if you're a soldier, they hinted that, well, they did talk about the soldier and night rolls and how those did get bumped, unfortunately. So we will talk about that. But they hinted that it could be server-wide when you become a soldier or knight, so crafting stations. Cat Died says, or would be harder, Agor4 says. Cat Died says, but storage is nice to have. Storage is nice to have, absolutely. I agree. I think they need to just double, triple all the storage chests. Let me just have a storage, like, why do I need to have a wall of chests? Let a chest be a real chest. Let it store a lot of stuff. Let it be upgraded. Put some gameplay mechanics behind it where you can start off with a small chest and then you can upgrade it using metal. And you don't waste the old chest, doesn't go to waste. You actually need it in order to upgrade to the next tier or something like that. And you can get a bunch of storage. Let us have a ton of storage. I mean, I don't really see the downside to being like, hey, I no longer need to have a wall of 9,000 chests just to run a guild bank, right? Just my opinion on that. But I think that could be honestly really, really good for the game to just double the chest, triple the chests, or give us that immersive upgrade method. What do you got, Ange?
Or give us one of those bookshelves and double the amount of chests, like the amount of storage that a chest has with those bookshelves that they have.
Yeah, they did show off the scroll shelves and stuff.
Yeah, give us some of those.
That'd be pretty cool. Bean says, even still, how hard it is really, I voted no, as I found making my own boxes and benches extremely easy. Sa says, all right, everyone, time to head out to Fadril's. Oh, for the delicious dinner. Fadril says, come on over, Sa. UTB says, mashed potatoes, brown gravy, ribeye, grilled in garlic butter, and a side of green beans with pumpkin pie and a whipped cream on top. Sorry for those starving in the world. Man, I'm one of those starving in the world right now. That sounds amazing as well. Cat Died says, my concern is free play may introduce bots and lots of spam accounts to come in. Yes, I 100% agree with that sentiment there. I like subscription-based games, and if they do have trial accounts or free accounts or something, they need to be limited in some way. Like World of Warcraft, you can only go to level 20, you can't use the auction house, you can't trade with other players, you can't really do much. You're very, very limited, and you can just play up to level 20, and that's it. I think that if they start to implement some of these features like that into PAX Day in order to give people trial runs on things, or even have a free-to-play account, it really could do just that, Cat Died. It could introduce so many of the normal free-to-play issues that we have across other MMOs and other games and things like that. I mean, it's already bad enough with alts, and I know that that's going to ruffle some feathers. I think alts if they're used correctly, can be a great thing, but if they're used incorrectly, they can be a bad thing. But you can always have alts because all you have to do is buy another account, right? Blippi says, makes note to stay out of Void's house. Well, you know what I mean. Like, it'd be nice to just be able to lock your house. I mean, I'm all for people coming, and when you think about it, though, through a roleplay experience, you wouldn't just barge into someone's house and start running through all their rooms and stuff. Like, they would be like, hey, what the hell are you doing in my bedroom? And they would stab you. Like, they would take a pointy stick or a pointy piece of metal and they would pierce your flesh with it because you're trespassing, and that'd be like freaky as hell, you know? So I think that being able to lock our doors and prevent people from coming into our houses and into our private spaces and then needing to be invited in could be a great way to go about it. And then, expand the permission system to individuals, expand it to clans, expand it to other parties and stuff like that, other groups. Let's see, we got a bunch of chat flying by here. Emerald, I think that's how you pronounce that there. Emerald says, well, first of all, welcome into the stream. Says, plot cap being hit is why I voted yes. Members being unable to put plots down in their clan's heartland. Yes, but if you think about it, Emerald, you can use all of your clan members' crafting stations. You don't really need them at spawn, to be honest. You could just walk into anybody's house and use their crafting stations and things like that to do pretty much whatever you want. Now, the producing crafting stations, you can't, and I don't think those are what's going to be coming to spawn, but you could just use anybody's crafting stations. I mean, storage is one thing for sure, but if you're in a clan, obviously you could set that to clan with the permission system the way it is, and if they flesh out the permission system, you'd be able to have more finite control over that into the future as well. But I definitely value your opinion. I don't think there's really a wrong answer here. It's all just opinions, but I was just curious what people thought. And it's actually at 50-50 right now, so you could see just how split people are on it. At the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be that impactful. Not really that big of a deal, but it's going to be an interesting thing just to see the numbers on that. Gore4 says, there is no downside to your suggestion with chests if they make home valleys without treat. UTB puts number 1 gold medal. Fadril says, also dislike gold miners and sellers 100%. And I mean, I don't know if a lot of you know this, but the game has already suffered from real money transactions. RMTs have been taking place in PAX Day already. People have been selling items, people have been selling gold, people have been selling grace, but then through the form of gold. So pretty much everything is purchasable with real money transactions, which is unfortunate. I like games where you have to go and earn the things in game. And if that means a subscription model, I'm okay with that. Like World of Warcraft, I pay $15 a month and I go and earn everything that I want in game. Every single thing I can go and unlock, every single thing I can earn, I can go get cosmetics, I can go get all that stuff. One fee, access to everything. It's why I like World of Warcraft's subscription model. Now, I know that doesn't work for every game, but I absolutely despise gold miners and sellers and stuff like that. I think that it ruins the economy, it ruins the fun, it ruins the immersion of the game, and it helps people to skip and get ahead where normally they would not be able to. It changes the entire power dynamic, especially in a game that is heavily reliant on the social interactions of the world around you. Jade, how's it going, Jade? Welcome to the stream. Jade says, yay, I made it. It's me. Great to see you, Jade. There's a ton to go over. Cat Died says RuneScape. RuneScape's free to play was a good design. Only use alts for plots for RP builds. All right, we're caught up on chat. We're on to the next feature. Let's go ahead and end this poll. And let's see. It's a 50-50 split, guys. Look at that. Literally right down the middle, 50-50 split with 18 votes. Some people say yes, some people say no. At the end of the day, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it's interesting to see what the community thinks about that stuff. All right. That brings us to animals. Ange, I'll let you introduce this one, Ange. What are we getting?
Wild goats. Wild goats. I'm so excited. So excited. Now, I did already ask Osric. I asked him yesterday about husbandry. It is still on the back burner. But, I'm still pushing for that fox army, guys. Don't y'all worry.
And I think that's why they said wild goats. It's to let us know that this is not going to bring animal husbandry, guys. That's probably not coming for quite some time, even if after early access. I mean, if they're trying to release this year, there's a lot of features that I don't even know how they could fit it all in this year, let alone in this patch. So we're not getting animal husbandry anytime soon. Don't get too excited. Absolutely. Spy foxes, those are still everywhere. Kevin says someone is about to get like 400 goats here soon. That's true. I remember a long time ago, before the flood, there was some goat transaction that took place from a goat farmer. I fully expect to be paid in full with the back and interest on those goats. There's a lot of goats. There's like 400 goats or something, right? And that brings us to revamped Heartland provinces. I have a picture for this, guys. Give me 1 second to pull it up. I think it's number 3. Nope. It's number 4. Nope. Where is it? It's number 2. There it is. It's number 2. Let me unlock it and drag it over here in the center. This is an example of what a home valley, a heartland, is going to look like now. So you have heartlands, which are these provinces, and then they have home valleys within them. The home valleys are things like Tremen, which is where the Order of the Blood Brothers is located, on the Nyx RP server. And right now, how many home valleys do we have right now? We have like 1, 2, there's like 5 or 6 on a map, right?
Sounds right.
Something like that. We have like 5 or 6 home valleys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're going up to 11 home valleys, and they're not small. They're big. What this really ultimately means in my eyes is much less wildlands. Now, this could be because we don't know what the future holds in terms of the way the map's going to evolve and the way we're going to be getting around. These home valleys, like Carries, they're made to be somewhat more tame. There's going to be entire zones at one point, according to the information that we have available that has been talked about in the past by developers. There will be zones that will be entirely wildlands where there's no builds. Besides maybe the Knights Baronies and stuff like that. We don't know about that yet, but the wildlands are shrinking for sure. And that's going to mean a lot less exploration in terms of dangerous exploration or a little bit more dangerous exploration. You can see on this map on the left, there's like a nice area of wildland. You have one in the middle, you have one up in the top left, you have a skinny piece on the top right, a nice chunk in the bottom middle, and a nice chunk in the bottom right. So there's a couple areas that are still nice and open, but I think for this alone, it's going to require at least a world wipe. Now, we will get into it as we get further along, but they were talking about this being more extensive wipe. So if they're saying this is going to be more of an extensive wipe, that means that it's not just going to be a world wipe. It's not just going to be, hey, we wipe the world and all your stuff goes into your redeeming queue. It could be either there's no redeeming queue and it's a world wipe, but we keep our characters. We have to start over in that regard in terms of resources, or it could also mean our characters are wiped. They have been consistent and said that they're only going to wipe absolutely what they need to wipe. But, Ange, how do you feel about this Home Valley change? Keeping in mind that we don't know what the future holds. We do know that the PvP zone is going to be completely revamped. There is going to be exclusive resources added into Lioness, meaning that you're going to have to go to Lioness to acquire these things or trade with somebody in order to acquire these resources. And
Right.
there could be something else that they're not telling us. There could be wildland zones that are going to be added as interim, traveling spaces outside of these home provinces. How do you feel about the changes with, given all of that information about the changes that are coming to these home valleys? Obviously, it's going to make it more dense. It could drive more RP. It could bring people closer together, but it could have some detrimental effects as well. So I want to know your opinion on that, as well as everyone in chat. Let your opinions be known. Let me know how you guys feel about these Home Valley changes. But go ahead, Ange. What do you got?
So I'm hesitant, just because Tremont has already reached its cap limit previously. Remember, before the wipe, you had a plot block.
Right.
Plot lock.
Yeah, we were all plot blocked.
Yeah, so that's my concern now with these changes, because you're making these valleys smaller. So it's going to be significantly easier to plot lock this area. And then what happens to the clan? It gets split into 2 sections.
Now, we don't have confirmation that the plot limits are going to be reduced for these zones. I mean, the zones still look pretty substantial. I don't think the actual valleys themselves are shrinking. If they are, it's very small in my opinion. So they may stay the same size, but there's just more of them. It's eating up the wildlands, in my opinion. But if they do, you're right. You're absolutely right. If they do shrink these valleys, then it could cause fractures of larger communities and stuff like that. But then again, I mean, taking over 2 zones is not really that bad of a thing, honestly. I mean, in my honest opinion, if we have to go from Tremon and Dolavan in order to fit the Blood Brothers in or something like that, I don't really see that as being too much of a big issue, but...
Well, I look at, like, Armagnac. That's cut in half. In our map, as it stands currently, you just cut it in half and just put the middle at the bottom, and you made another section right above it.
Is that what they did?
So yeah, they essentially cut it literally in half.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's where my concern is. Like, yes, they did take a significant amount into the wildlands, but you're also splitting some to get exactly what you want, which is fine. But again, what about my numbers? What about the clan? Are you putting limits then on the amount of people who can be in a clan? Because you're limiting how many people can be in that zone now to a smaller amount.
I think it'd be really cool. And this is a hot take, and this is just this is another like theory craft. But I think it'd be kind of cool if large clans or large communities could literally take over an entire zone. I mean, the order of the Blood Brothers is 250 members that are registered to our clan. We have a ton of people, and Tremon is pretty much solely filled with Blood Brothers as it is. I think it'd be kind of cool if you could just be like, okay, well, you're over this threshold of this clan controlling it, so you could just like have the whole zone. I don't know how they would do that. There's a lot of problems they get introduced with that. But Dan says 10 valleys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, there's 11. I'm counting 11. I see 11 there, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's 11 there. But Dan, also welcome to the stream.
We're counting the wildlands. I think the wildlands is 11.
Is one of them marked as a wildlands? Oh, they actually have a marker on the wall. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have a marker. So yeah, 10 home valleys.
My mistake. I thought the one in the middle. So that's not too small then for the home valleys then, I guess. If the entire middle, I thought that was a home valley in the middle. It's smaller on my screen, so I can't really see it that good, but that's my mistake. Yeah, so there's still going to be a pretty decent amount of wildland in the middle there then, I think. I think it'll be pretty decent. Cat Died says, would love to take a whole home valley. I think that'd be really cool. I mean, especially for a large clan with their allies and stuff, taking over a whole home valley could be really, really interesting. I don't think they'll ever do anything like that, but who knows? I mean, time will tell, right? Kev Adonis, welcome into the stream, buddy. How's it going? He says, hi all. How's it going, Kev? Really great to see you again. God Silent Grace, welcome into the stream as well. He said, I did make that map change thing like the one of the old maps. Oh yeah, I did see that. Silent. Fidril says it's also possible the total map size could increase too. That is definitely possible. They could just be increasing the overall map size. Without getting mounts or fast travel, I think that could be really rough. But let me take this image down now that we have had a chance to look at that. We'll bring back up this. If we look at the next thing here, miracles, fast travel. The miracles are really, really underwhelming currently, but we're going to be getting fast travel with miracles, which is going to make, if they do increase the map like Fadril has suggested, it could make getting around that much easier. It's going to allow us to be able to fast travel probably from zone to zone maybe, or from, originally it was supposed to be from like church to church. You'd be able to tie the churches together and build this vast empire of a religion system in game run by the players and stuff. I don't know if they fully scrapped that or not. We're going to look at the later down the road and see what's actually missing, but miracles of fast travel could bring some good stuff to the game as well. And then that brings us to later down the road. And some things are missing, guys, like weather. Ange pointed out that weather is actually missing from this roadmap at all now. So weather may have gotten bumped altogether, which is interesting because we've been seeing a lot of implementations of it in the world. That we've been hearing weather. We've been seeing things get wet as if we've heard thunder. We've a lot of different things that we've noticed in game. I don't know why it got bumped. Maybe it's a mistake, but it's not here. There's no weather. Dan says weather bumped due to prioritization issues. Did they mention that, Dan? Did we actually have confirmation that that's why it got bumped? I mean, that would make sense logically to think about it. Like that would be why it got bumped. Obviously, I think that's why anything would really get bumped. Obviously, if they change their priorities, it's going to bump different things from the roadmap. But let's go through what's coming later. It was mentioned, yes. I live in that Discord. Oh my gosh. That's funny. So later down the road, here's some of the things that we can look forward to. Revamped Province of Lioness, revamped PvP, trade towns. Not really sure what that means. Knight roll and soldier roll. They did say that those got bumped a little bit further back than they would have liked. Gear customization. Looking forward to that. Controller support. There's already kind of controller support, and if you rebind your controller, like I have an Xbox controller, I can actually go into the settings for it and actually change what the keys do. So I can already have pretty much full controller support. But that's good to know that they're going to be working on the controller support for people who want to. Let's be honest, there's not that many spells in this game. There's not that many things that you need to click, so it's kind of prime for controller integration. Cat Died says Osric said they bumped it for prioritization. I gotcha. Okay. So yeah, because Fadril says, did Osric mention weather? We actually have, it was put together by Phoenix, which is one of the community community, what do they call
moderators?
Them? The Discord moderator, one of the Discord moderators. They put together a really interesting Q&A that took place in Discord, and there's a absolute metric crap ton of information in there that Osric has been great. Osric has honestly been so transparent and willing to engage with the community. He's been on stream here several times. Osric, if you're listening to this, man, you've been doing a really great job. I appreciate your transparency. I praise things that require praise. And honestly, brother, you've been doing an awesome job being transparent. You're one of the only sources of like behind the scenes information that we've got. I know there's been other sources and stuff, but you've just been going above and beyond. So I surely want to give Osric the praise that he deserves. Fadril says Osric is what Mainframe needs for PR, in my opinion. Absolutely. Osric has been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some of the other things that we're going to be getting later is new furniture, new enemies, improved permission system, mounts. Now, mounts is interesting because Osric was on our last episode of PaxCast, and he said that mounts currently are not being developed. They're not currently being worked on. Now, I know things change as priorities shift around. They did show the mounts, the image of the mounts, and some people thought they were a little too small and rink-a-dink. They were like little tiny horses or ponies or something. So hopefully they get that sorted out. But Osric said they weren't really working on mounts yet. In their article that we're going to continue to read after we're done looking at this roadmap here, they talk about mounts hopefully coming soon. #SoonTM. I don't know, but the conflicting statement there is a little confusing. I guess we'll find out in the long run. And improved NPC behaviors and unveil the lore. Now, the lore one is interesting for me. I want to know if people want to see official lore podcast here on the channel. I have a lot of podcasts and things that we do based on different in-game lore that we create and stuff like that. But I want to know if you guys want to see an official lore breakdown podcast or videos and stuff like that. But I'm all for lore as long as it allows us to continue our own lore in the world as well. As many of you know, we have the 9 Pantheon. We have a very rich backstory and lore in and around the Order of the Blood Brothers. And it's been a lot of fun to come up with our own stories and the rips in the veil and the traversing of different planes and all kinds of really, really fun, exciting, dramatic, engaging role play. It's been a lot of fun, but I'm excited to see what they have in store for us as well. But that's the roadmap. I know it took a while to go over that roadmap. It's pretty extensive. There's a lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of promises. There's a lot of things that got bumped from their previous promises as their priorities shift. And hey, that's going to happen. I'm not going to be too hard on them for that. I think that a lot of the important things are still here, like the night roll and the revamped PvP and stuff. I want to know what you guys think about this roadmap. Are you excited for it? Do you think it's a lot of empty promises? Are you disappointed with the things that got bumped? Let it be known here on the channel, guys. Let me know what you think about that, because again, this is what PaxCast is all about. Bringing people together to have open dialogue and open conversation about the development of a video game, a game that we are all so invested in, and we're going to be here for a very long time. I want private servers. I think it's going to bring it into the future. That's my one thing that I'd like to see added to a roadmap. I don't think they're ever going to do it. I think it's going to they're going to completely ignore that, but I want private servers. I think it really does a lot for games. Look at Conan Exiles, look at Minecraft, look at Dune with it's going to have its private servers. Look at V Rising, look at Project Zomboid and Vintage Story and all the games that really, really come alive once they have private servers. That's just my opinion on that, but that's the roadmap, guys. That's what we've had. That's what we've gotten. That's what we're potentially going to get. And that's what got bumped, as well as what the future may hold for PAX Day. All right. That brings us back to the article here. And I know that, we've literally just touched the surface. Look how much is here, guys. There's a lot to go through still. I got other stuff to show you as well. Like, check this out. Osric FAQ. 328 Osric made made a series of comments and answered several questions from the community, and I felt were worth documenting. Look at this. Huge index here. Tons of people on it. Look at this. It just goes on and on and on. Look at all these. These are all comments that he made that are about things that we could potentially be seeing. #SoonTM. And I want to go over all this with you guys. There's still so much to do, so sit tight, guys. Don't go anywhere. And then we also want to talk about the clan codex. The good about it, the bad about it, and everything in between. But there were several clans that were spotlit in their first clan codex. I have feelings about this, and we're going to talk about it as well. And I want to hear from you guys on what you think about that, as well as, let's refresh it, the player count. Here is our current player count across all servers, and here's our 24-hour peak. I like to keep an eye on that as well. It's actually up quite a bit right now. I don't know if it's because of the roadmap, but they did. One of the interesting things that I'm going to spoil right now was Osric did say, when I asked him a question about, how we should be going forward or what we should be thinking about this wipe, he said, I don't want to tell you to keep hoarding materials and grinding things if the wipe is going to be bigger, or knowing that the wipe is going to be bigger than it was last time. I take that as a small hint and subtle nudge towards it's going to be a full wipe or a bigger wipe, to where we really shouldn't be wasting our time in investing into grinding things out, because it could potentially be lost. And that's essentially what I got from the takeaway from Osric. But we're going to go into all of that. Tons and tons and tons to break down. This is going to be an exciting time for PAX Day going forward. If they can deliver on all of these things that they've talked about here and all of the things that they've promised in the past, and we get some of those core systems fleshed out that we desperately need fleshed out in the game to really make it a full-fledged MMO, this could be an exciting time for PAX Day. It's going to be an absolute ride. It's going to have its ups. It's going to have its downs. It's going to have everything in between. But that's what we're here for. We're here for the fun and the excitement of the development process of PAX Day.